The torches burn low, as if even fire is afraid to be seen. Beyond the ring of light, the night presses close, thick, listening, while thousands of men lie awake without moving, waiting for a single breath from one tent. Somewhere in the dark, a horse stamps once, then stills, as though it has heard something the humans cannot. And in the center of it all, Attila does not sleep. If you feel the pull of these old nights and the shadows they leave behind, stay with this story. Return to this channel when you want to walk deeper into the past, where history still whispers in the dark. His tent is not grand, not in the way Romans would understand grandeur. No marble, no columns, no images of gods caught in gold leaf, just hides and stitched cloth and the smell of smoke that clings to everything, the perfume of a life lived outdoors, under weather and threat. There is a lamp inside, its flames struggling, its light throwing a restless glow across maps weighed down by knives. The air tastes of iron and fermented milk, of sweat dried into leather. A man could live a long time in a place like this and forget the softness of walls. Attila sits with his elbows on his knees, hands clasped as if holding something that might slip away. On the table before him lies a simple wooden cup, the kind a common rider might drink from. The Huns whisper that their king prefers such things, that he does not trust luxury, because luxury makes the body forget pain, and when the body forgets pain, it forgets truth. Outside, the camp spreads across the Italian plain like a dark sea. Fires wink and fade. Men murmur in low tones, not daring to laugh. Even triumph has become cautious. They have come far, through rivers, through frightened cities, through the bones of empires. Behind them lie fields stripped bare, the smell of wet ash, the memory of screaming that clings to the air long after the last voice is gone. Ahead of them lies something different. Not a city, a symbol. Rome is not merely stone and street. Rome is the word men say when they mean forever. Attila has shattered forts that thought themselves eternal. He has taken gold from kings who swore they would die first. He has watched Roman generals bargain like merchants at a market stall, offering piles of glittering coin to keep their walls standing one more season. He has eaten their fear, swallowed it, used it as fuel. Rome has always been near him, like a taste on the tongue. But tonight, Rome is not near. Rome is close enough to haunt the mind. The lamp flame quivers as the tent flap shifts. A guard appears, silent as a shadow given form, and bows without lowering his eyes too much. Fear in this camp is disciplined. It knows its posture. "They are here," the guard says. His voice is a hush, as if loud words might awaken something sleeping in the soil. "The emissaries." Attila does not answer at once. His gaze remains on the wooden cup, on the grain of it, on the small imperfections that make it honest. His jaw tightens once, a motion like a blade being tested between fingers. Then he nods. "Bring them." When the men enter, they bring Rome with them, not in banners or trumpets, but in a scent. Oil, ink, cloth that has been washed too many times in perfumed water. Their sandals are clean, their hands soft for men who claim to speak for a world of steel. They bow. They choose their words carefully, tasting each syllable before releasing it, because in this tent, language is not decoration. It is a weapon. Attila watches them with the stillness of a predator that has already decided the hunt's outcome, but has not yet chosen the moment to strike. His face in the lamplight is hard to read. Broad cheekbones, eyes set deep, expression calm in a way that unsettles. Calm is not kindness here. Calm is control. One of them steps forward, older, his beard trimmed, his mouth shaped by years of persuading men who already believe themselves persuaded. "Great King," he says, and the title hangs in the air like incense, sweet and strategic. "We come not to defy you, not to insult your strength, but to speak for those who cannot stand before you without trembling." Attila's lips barely move. "Then speak quickly. Their trembling is not my problem." A faint swallow. The emissary's throat works like a man trying to push down panic. "Rome offers..." Attila's hand rises slightly. The emissary stops as if he has been struck. "Do not tell me what Rome offers." Attila's voice is low, almost gentle. "Tell me what Rome fears." Silence fills the tent. It thickens. The emissaries glance at one another, searching for a safe path through a forest of knives. Outside, a gust of wind slides across the plain, and the hides of the tent shiver. Attila feels it like a hand across the back of his neck. For a moment, only a moment, he imagines the wind carrying voices. Not the voices of his men, other voices, older, buried. He has always hated stillness. Stillness invites memory. The emissary begins again, carefully. "Rome fears devastation, the loss of life, the loss of holy places, the collapse of what has endured." Attila leans forward a fraction. "Endured?" The word carries a hint of amusement, but it is sharp as flint. "They call themselves enduring, but they pay me to stay away. Is that endurance? Or is it a long habit of survival?" The emissary opens his mouth and hesitates. Attila's eyes do not blink. Another man steps in, younger, trembling behind his formal posture. "We bring an appeal," he says, "from a man of the church." At that, something in the tent subtly changes. Even the guards shift their weight. The word church moves differently through the air than the word emperor. The church is not an army. It does not ride horses. But it has something Attila has never fully trusted: power without steel. Attila's fingers tap once against his knee. "A priest speaks for Rome now?" The older emissary bows. "Not merely a priest, the bishop of Rome." A title, another kind of symbol. Attila's eyes narrow slightly. He has heard stories, whispers carried along trade routes and campfires. The Roman bishop is a man who claims to speak with the authority of heaven. Men kneel to him who would never kneel to an emperor. His words can move crowds as surely as a spear can. In Attila's world, power is simple. You take it, you hold it, you defend it with blood. In Rome, power is a fog that enters the lungs and makes men obey without understanding why. "Does he come himself?" Attila asks. "Yes," the emissary says quickly, as if hoping the answer will please. "He comes to meet you, to speak, to beg peace." Attila leans back. The lamp casts his shadow huge against the tent wall, a dark shape that seems larger than the man himself, a monster drawn by firelight. Peace. The word tastes strange. Attila has made peace many times, in the way a wolf makes peace with sheep, by deciding when to stop eating. Yet tonight, the thought of it does not bring satisfaction. It brings something else. A pressure behind the ribs.
a faint irritation, as though a thorn has lodged under the skin and cannot be found. He dismisses the emissaries with a gesture. They leave quickly, grateful to be alive and ashamed of that gratitude. When the flap falls back into place, the tent exhales. For a long time, Attila sits in silence, listening to the night.
The crackle of distant fires, the soft clink of metal, the occasional cough from a man trying to hide weakness. Far away, wolves cry out, a thin, hungry sound that feels older than language. Attila closes his eyes, and the steppe comes for him. He sees it as he always does when fatigue loosens the mind's grip. Endless grass moving like water under wind, a horizon so wide it makes the heart feel small. He smells horse sweat and spring rain, hears the creak of saddles and the low songs men hum when they think no one is listening. He is younger there, not king, not scourge, just a boy with dirt under his nails and a stomach that aches from hunger. He remembers watching older warriors ride out and return with stolen cattle, their faces hard and bright, blood on their sleeves like paint. He remembers learning that mercy is a luxury for the fed. His father's voice, rough, impatient, teaches him without tenderness. If you hesitate, you die. If you look away, you lose. If you soften, they take everything. Attila opens his eyes again, and the lamp's trembling flame is the only star in his small universe. He stands and steps outside. The night hits his face like cold water. The camp spreads around him, dim and vast. Guards straighten as he passes, fear and reverence mixing into something almost religious. He walks without a cloak. The cold does not matter. Cold is honest. Beyond the camp, the land is quiet. Too quiet for a place this close to Rome. In the distance, the black line of trees stands like a wall. Attila stares toward where he knows the city lies, unseen but present. He imagines its domes, its temples, its holy relics guarded by men who pray more than they fight. He has taken cities. He has broken armies. But Rome is not just a target. Rome is a story that people tell themselves so they do not drown in chaos. If he burns it, what does he become? A destroyer, yes, but also a kind of author. He hears footsteps behind him. One of his closest men approaches, broad-shouldered, scarred, eyes keen. He does not speak immediately. In this camp, even generals measure their breath around Attila. The men are restless, the warrior says at last. They smell the city. They want the gates. They want the world to finish what it started when it began to fear your name. Attila's gaze does not leave the dark horizon. And you? The warrior hesitates. Honesty here is dangerous. I want what you want, he finally says. Attila gives a quiet, humorless sound. No, you want what you think I want. The warrior's mouth tightens. He waits. Attila looks down at his hands. In the torchlight, they seem older than they should. Hands that have held reins and blades and cups of wine raised in victory. Hands that have signed treaties only to tear them apart later. Hands that have touched the heads of children presented as tribute. Children who stared at him with eyes too big for their faces, as if they were looking at death itself. He thinks of the Bishop of Rome coming to meet him. A man with no army. A man who will walk into the mouth of the wolf and offer words. Attila turns slightly, his face half lit, half shadow. If I take Rome, he says softly, They will sing of it for 1,000 years. The warrior's eyes gleam. Then take it. Attila's voice drops lower, almost lost in the wind. And if I do not, they will still sing, but they will not know what to sing about. The warrior frowns, confused, perhaps even frightened, because he has never heard uncertainty in Attila's voice. Not like this. Attila looks back toward the horizon, toward the unseen city, and for the first time in a long time, he feels the weight of a question he cannot kill with a blade. Because tomorrow, a man of God will come to him, and Attila, who has made emperors kneel, must decide whether he kneels, in some secret place inside himself, to something older than fear. The night does not answer. It only watches. And somewhere beyond the darkness, Rome holds its breath. Dawn comes slowly, as if the sun itself is uncertain whether it should rise on this day. A pale light creeps along the edge of the plain, thinning the darkness thread by thread. The camp stirs, not with noise, but with tension. Men rise without speaking. Armor is checked and rechecked. Horses snort softly, sensing the weight in the air. Every movement feels rehearsed, ceremonial, as though the world has entered a pause between breaths. Attila stands apart, watching the horizon bleed from black into gray. He has not slept. Sleep has learned better than to approach him on nights like this. From the distance comes a small procession. No banners, no guards in ranks. Just a handful of figures moving steadily forward, their silhouettes fragile against the vastness of the land. One of them walks at the center, upright despite his age, robes shifting in the morning wind. The Bishop of Rome. Attila studies him with the same intensity he once studied enemy formations before battle. There is no fear in the man's stride, not the visible kind at least. No bravado either, just purpose. A strange thing, purpose without steel. When they stop a few paces away, the air between them feels charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. The bishop inclines his head, not deeply, not submissively. Respectful, but firm. King of the Huns, he says. His voice is calm, surprisingly strong. I thank you for granting this meeting. Attila does not return the greeting. He lets silence do the work for him. Silence has always been his ally. Men fill it with their fears, their hopes, their mistakes. The bishop waits. He has learned this language too. You come without soldiers, Attila says at last. Either you are very brave, or very certain. The bishop's eyes do not waver. Certainty is not the same as confidence, he replies. I come because words are all I have left to offer, and sometimes words are enough. A few of Attila's men shift behind him, uneasy. Words have never stopped a blade. Words have never broken a wall. And yet, Attila feels the faintest pressure in his chest, as if something unseen has leaned closer. Speak, Attila says. The bishop gestures toward the land around them. You stand at the edge of something vast, he says. Not merely a city, a memory, a belief shared by millions who will never see you, yet already fear you. Fear. Always fear. Attila tilts his head slightly. They should. Yes, the bishop agrees softly. They should. Power demands fear, but power also invites a question. Attila's eyes narrow. Which question? What remains, the bishop says, when power has spoken. The wind stirs the grass. Somewhere a bird cries out, sharp and brief. Attila feels the question lodge inside him like a splinter. He thinks of cities burned so completely that even their names have vanished. He thinks of kings who once threatened him, now reduced to bones scattered by animals. Power speaks loudly, but it does not speak long. You ask me to spare Rome, Attila says. Why? The bishop steps closer, just enough to make the guards tense. Because Rome is already dying, he answers. Empires rot from within long before an enemy arrives. If you destroy it, history will remember you as the hand that struck the final blow. But if you walk away, he lets the sentence trail off. Attila's mouth curves faintly. Then what? Then you become something harder to name, the bishop says. Not merely the end of things, but a limit. A force even destruction must obey. Attila laughs once, quietly. You speak like a poet, he says. Or a man who knows his city cannot fight. The bishop does not deny it. Rome's walls may fall, he says, but there are other walls. Stories, faith, memory. Burn the stones, and you may strengthen what you cannot reach. Attila turns away, looking back toward his camp, his army, the men who have followed him across half the world. He sees their faith in him, raw, absolute. They believe he will lead them to the final prize, the ultimate proof that no force can stand before them. He remembers being younger, when conquest felt clean, when each victory opened the future wider, like a road stretching endlessly forward. Now the road feels narrower, crowded with ghosts. You believe your God will punish me, Attila says without looking back. The bishop shakes his head. No, I believe time will. That word again, time. Attila feels its weight more now than he ever has. He feels it in his joints when he rises too quickly, in the slowness of healing wounds, in the way nights grow longer, heavier, filled with faces that no longer have names. He turns back to the bishop. If I leave, he says, my men will call it weakness. Some will, the bishop agrees. Others will call it wisdom, and many will argue for centuries, because no one truly understands restraint when they have never held power. Attila studies the man before him, this fragile emissary of something intangible. He sees no trick, no hidden blade, only conviction. A dangerous thing, conviction. Behind Attila, his general clears his throat. My king, he murmurs, the men are ready. Attila raises a hand, silencing him. He looks once more toward where Rome lies unseen. He imagines the city waking, priests praying, children running through narrow streets, merchants opening stalls, unaware how close they stand to erasure. He imagines the screams that would come, the fire, the chaos. He knows how easily it could all end. And for the first time, he feels not temptation, but exhaustion. What would it prove? That he can destroy what is already afraid to live? He remembers the steppe again, the endless sky, the knowledge that nothing there lasts forever, and that survival itself is a kind of victory. He remembers learning that strength is not only in taking, but in knowing when enough has been taken. Attila inhales slowly. The air tastes of grass and cold and something faintly sweet. Morning. Go, he says to the bishop. The word falls softly, almost gently. The bishop blinks once, as if unsure he is heard correctly. "Tell Rome," Attila continues, "that it still stands because I allow it to stand, not because it is strong, not because it is holy." The bishop bows, deeper this time. "History will remember this day," he says. Attila's eyes harden. "History remembers nothing," he replies. "Men do." The bishop turns and walks away, his figure growing smaller with each step, swallowed by the widening light. Attila stands alone for a moment longer. Then he turns to his men. "We ride," he says. A ripple moves through the camp, not triumph, not disappointment, but confusion. Orders spread, fires are stamped out, tents collapse. The great machine of war begins, inexplicably, to move away from its greatest prize. As the army withdraws, Attila feels something shift inside him. Not relief, not regret, but a strange hollowness. As if by sparing Rome, he has spared something else as well. Something that now has nowhere to go. He mounts his horse and rides at the head of his men, the city never once appearing behind him. No cheers follow, no songs, only the steady sound of hooves and the whisper of grass bending under their passage. By nightfall, Rome is already a story again, and Attila, for the first time, wonders what happens to a legend when it chooses not to finish its sentence. The question follows him into the dark. The road north coils through empty land, and Attila rides it in silence. Behind him, the army moves like a wounded animal, still dangerous, still vast, but unsettled. Men glance back more often than they should, some with relief, others with hunger. No one speaks of Rome, yet its absence hangs over them heavier than any ruin. A city spared becomes a presence of its own. At night, the fires burn smaller. Attila feels it immediately, the change. Power does not vanish all at once. It leaks. It seeps through cracks no one noticed when the walls were high. The men still obey him, still bow, still wait for his word. But something fragile has entered the space between command and response. Thought. He has given them a mystery. In the days that follow, rumors outrun the horses. Stories fracture and multiply. Some say the Roman god stood beside the bishop, invisible but armed. Others whisper that Attila saw visions, angels, demons, the dead kings of the earth. There are those who insist he was bribed with gold so vast it could not be carried. And a few, only a few, say the truth, that he chose to stop. That version spreads the slowest. Men distrust it. At night, Attila dreams, not of Rome, but of the steppe. He is riding alone across endless grass. No banners, no guards. The sky is enormous, indifferent. He feels young again, light in the saddle, his body unburdened by memory. Then he looks down and sees his hands, older, scarred, heavy with history. The horse beneath him begins to sink, slowly, into the earth. The grass grows tall, wraps around his legs, his chest. He tries to shout, but the wind carries his voice away. He wakes before dawn, breath tight in his chest. He sits up, listening to the camp. Somewhere a man snores. Somewhere another weeps quietly, thinking himself alone. Attila rubs his face with both hands. His bones ache. He realizes with a sudden clarity that unsettles him more than any enemy. He is tired. Not of ruling, of enduring. Power once felt like fire, bright, consuming, alive. Now it feels like weight. Every choice adds another stone to a burden already immense. He has become careful without meaning to, thoughtful. These are not traits men celebrate in conquerors. He remembers the bishop's words. What remains when power has spoken? In the weeks that follow, the world responds. Roman envoys grow bolder. Their fear does not vanish, but it reshapes itself into calculation. Allies hesitate longer before offering tribute. Enemies watch more closely. Even among the Huns, old rivalries stir. Strength invites obedience. Uncertainty invites ambition. Attila feels it all, keenly. He has always understood the language of threat and reward. Now he must learn a quieter dialect, the language of erosion. He summons his closest chiefs one evening, beneath a sky heavy with clouds. Wine is poured, but little is drunk. Faces are tense. "We turned away from Rome," one of them says at last, choosing his words with care. "Some believe the world will think us weaker." Attila studies the fire. "The world already thinks," he says. "It always has. It thought Rome eternal. It thought emperors divine. Thought has never saved anyone." Another chief leans forward. Then why stop? The question is not accusation. It is confusion, perhaps even fear. Attila lifts his gaze. In the firelight, his eyes seem darker than ever. "Because destruction is easy," he says. "And easy things are rarely remembered for long." Silence follows. Some understand. Most do not. Time continues its patient work. Attila still rides at the head of armies, still demands tribute, still punishes defiance. But something fundamental has shifted. He no longer chases annihilation with the same hunger. He measures. He waits. He spares more often than before. The world does not know what to do with this version of him. Years later, fewer than anyone expects, the great tent will fall quiet forever. His death will be sudden, absurd in its intimacy, wrapped in whispers and disbelief. A man who survived countless battles, undone not by steel, but by the fragile machinery of the body. His warriors will cut their faces in grief, blood streaking their cheeks, mourning him in the only language they know. And Rome will still stand, not untouched, not innocent, but breathing. Historians will argue endlessly about that day, about why Attila turned away. They will weigh strategies, superstitions, politics. They will search for certainty where none exists. Some will call it weakness. Others will call it wisdom. Most will never consider the simplest truth, that even the most feared man in the world was, in the end, still a man. A man who felt time closing its grip. A man who sensed that to destroy everything is not the same as meaning something. A man who stood at the edge of total power and discovered its silence. Empires rise by force and fall by memory. Fear burns bright, but briefly. What lingers is not always what was taken, but what was left behind. And somewhere in the long shadow between myth and flesh, Attila rides on. Not as the end of the world, but as a reminder that even legends must one day choose where to stop.